lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going through another fantastic DC Comics facsimile. This time I'm going through The House of Secrets, issue 92. Len Wein Bernie Wrightson, lead story, classic comic, first appearance of Swamp Thing. What else could I do for the month of October but go through some of my favorite horror-themed books, maybe Halloween-themed stories? But this was at the top of my list that I wanted to talk about, and I'm excited to kind of do some stuff for the month of October. I mean, you can enjoy these books year round, but I figured perfect time to do it would be in the month of October, celebrate the spooky season, and this is one of the most iconic covers I think in comic book history. Swamp Thing has long been one of my favorite characters. Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, they'll go on to do their own run, which they've collected in a beautiful Absolute Edition. I will definitely be covering that on the channel, so stay tuned. But for today, I just wanted to kind of go through this, flip through, check it out. This is definitely an early version of the character. It's actually my first time reading it, was getting this facsimile. So it was interesting to see where, the bones are there for this character, but it's so different in some ways too. You see the similarities, but there are some differences that will be changed later on. We do get, Cain and Abel, who, if you're a fan of Sandman by Neil Gaiman, you definitely know these characters, and I would imagine they were the hosts of this book. They're the hosts of this book throughout. There's going to be three stories. The lead story is obviously, the Swamp Thing. And I love, how before they're narrating it, they kind of lead you into each story, which is really cool. So we go back to 1971 when this book was created. So Swamp Thing has been around for a very long time. Over 50 years, that's some longevity. Not all characters kind of have this lasting staying power. Now, he doesn't have an ongoing right now, but plenty of great runs. I mean, I'm talking about Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, but let's not forget Alan Moore, Stephen Bissett, John Toddleman, Rick Veitch. And then the runs go on later. You get some... Scott Snyder did a great run. Kelly Jones did a great miniseries with Len Wein. Winnie Tens, I think. I can't remember exactly when it came out, but, it was the last book that Len Wein worked on was, a Swamp Thing story. So we're introduced to, this mysterious creature. We don't really know. He's moving through the swamp. He comes up to this, this house, and he's, looking through the window. We see this woman, she's talking to her new husband, they've been married about 6 months. He's like, "You're thinking about Alex again, aren't you?" So, we obviously, if you're going into this knowing who Swamp Thing is, that Alex is the creature. But again, that's a subtle change. So Alec is his name, Alec Holland, and this is not the same, right? This is Linda Olsen Ridge, so she's also not the wife that he had in the past. So much is obviously, characters always get rebooted and change and history change, but who knows, this character probably wasn't something necessarily that they thought would be a character that would break out and do an ongoing. Kind of cool to see this, and she's remembering Alex, and he's he's dead, you're my wife now. Kind of a douche, this Damien character, and she's thinking about him, seeing that he blew up in an explosion, which does carry over in terms of the origin. And this Damien, he's like, "Don't go in there. Alex is dead. There's nothing left to see." And then we get his perspective as we're seeing that he was the one that set him up. And this dude's sick. He was trying to steal Alex's wife this whole time. Blew him up with the chemicals inside, his laboratory. Dragged him out to the swamp. But little did he know that by doing that, he's now become this Swamp Thing. And again, she just has this eerie feeling about what's going on, and even having this feeling of he's halfway across the house. Why can't I shake that feeling that someone is watching me? So she can feel something happening, but who it is none other than Swamp Thing. He's watching through the window. He sees that Damien is about to inject her with something right in the neck, and why is he doing it? Because he's worried that she's figuring him out and he has to get rid of her so that because he doesn't want his life to be ruined and go to jail. Swamp Thing jumps through the window. I love how creepy this is. Like, it's definitely like you see him more in the shadows, so you don't really see him look like we all know him to look, you know, in the current, you know, comics, and how he'll look more so in the Swamp Thing ongoing. But he takes care of him, he kills him, and she's terrified, has no idea. He wants to talk to her, but you know, he hasn't talked in so long that his vocal cords won't work and they won't make a sound. And that shattered look in her eye and her once sparkling eyes, more than I can endure. Turn my face away from her and I start to go home. Only the swamp is kind to me now. It is only the swamp that cares. I look down at my wrist at the barren place where once there was a golden bracelet and wonder where it is. If tears could come, they would. So you see like this tortured monster, and like most of the time you'd look at him and you'd be creeped out and scared, but he has this pain and sorrow in his eyes that completely comes across, I think. And Bernie Wrightson's one of the greats too. So crazy that this, you know, I always assumed that this was more than an 8-page story, but so much is conveyed in these 8 pages that it's easy to see why you might want to expand on it. We get another story, you know, talking about, you know, his wife is on her deathbed. She's terrified. She's seen something right at the end. So this, you know, her husband now becomes obsessed with knowing what she saw, wanting to see what you see at like right as you're about to die. And then we got this like the brother-in-law who's kind of been leeching off of them, and now he's not going to give him any more money. Secretary throughout is like, I don't know if what you're doing is appropriate, because he keeps like wanting to have his people kind of let him know about people that are on the verge of death and wanting to know what they see. And this kid comes back, so he's like kind of pissed. And then something happens, right? He goes to the brother-in-law and he's sick of him. He's gonna take care of him. He comes with a gun about to kill him. And what happens is the gun gets turned on him and he's dying. And as he's dying, he's like, I can see it. And he's like, look into my eyes as I describe it. So he comes, the brother-in-law kneels in, and he's scarred by what he sees. And now he's getting taken away to straitjacket. So I think it's kind of crazy. Like, it leaves you wondering, like, what did he get described to him as this man's dying? And you see that, and what horrific words could have been spoken to him that would make him lose his mind. And again, look, some mysteries are better left unsolved. So another cool one, I love this, The House of Secret Speaks. Cool little letter page. That's a cool thing about these old comics too, or the facsimiles, is you get to see the ads as they were, the letters pages. And sometimes you look in those letter pages and see names you recognize, which is kind of cool. And then this one. This is Smiling Sam. Lives in the car in the city dump. And he thinks to start another hungry panhandling day, but today will be different, very different indeed. It may well prove that it's better to give. So he sees this little kid coming in, and the kid's crying, you know. He broke the balloon, and so Smiling Sam, Sam's going to give him a dime. He has one dime left, and he gives it to the kid. But what happens next is he looks behind, and the sink in the dump just starts pouring dimes out. So he's got all this money, and he's going out on the town, getting a new suit, and this guy that sees him walking is like, oh, Smiling Sam's coming in money. Better get to borrowing some of it. And he attacks him, eventually killing him. And then this little boy with the, you know, balloon from the beginning comes into the picture, and he sees what he did. He's like, you hurt my friend. And what does he do? He comes at him, and this balloon just starts growing and traps the criminal inside. And this creepy kid pops the balloon, and we see that there's more than meets the eye. And he's a baby warlock. So kind of cool. I like, another cool little story. And then we get this one. This guy's painting, and he paints this creepy, gruesome guy. And he's like, oh, any moment now, my whole life will be changed. And then the creature's coming out of the glass. Cool little 2-pager. Just some great stories in here. But obviously the reason I picked this book up to read was the Swamp Thing story in the beginning, because I love the character. Definitely gonna be doing some more Swamp Thing stuff on the channel. Probably going through that absolute, like I said, it's absolutely beautiful. I think the recoloring by Jose Villarrubia is just phenomenal. Hope you dug this one. Check out some of the other videos that I'm doing for the month of October. Some horror stuff, a lot of stuff in the works. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.